All right, and we are live right now. We're going to be sharing this around. So, hello, spooks and spookettes that are watching. Count Drahoon here, and I'm very particularly excited about tonight's guest because this evening I am chatting with an old friend of mine, a fellow horror host, the man himself, Mr. Bubba. Don't call me Bella or Hotep Lugosi. Baba, say hi to the folks.
Howdy, creeps. How y'all doing?
So, Baba, this is the first. I think this is the first time since before the pandemic started that we've had a chance to chat.
Yep. Ever since we had that horror host brunch, I enjoyed that thoroughly. Thank you for having me back.
I did too, and a shout out to our dear friend Dr. Melucard. I should have thought to reach out to him, but I was you've upgraded since the pandemic. So you've actually made your way into modern technology with a laptop and Zoom. And I'm afraid that Dr. Melucard hasn't quite made the jump yet. So. But if he's listening and watching, you're on notice. So let's get a move on.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I acquired this laptop just for this occasion.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, any bit of tech savvy that I have. I learned after long training sessions with the humans that helped me run the show. So no big deal, my friend. So I've got to know, how's everything been going? I don't really have any speaker notes this evening. I just wanted to sort of shoot the breeze and take any questions from our audience, but I've been worried about you. I wanted to know how you were doing.
Oh, I'm fine, just doing my thing, watching monster movies, dig a few graves here and there, partying. How you been?
I've been doing well. So I guess it's safe to say the plague really hasn't changed much for you, has it?
No, I was always kind of social distancing anyway. Dead folk have a knack for keeping 6 feet distance.
Yes, we do. So, do you have any big plans? Because forgive me, it just seems like, well, I mean, everything sort of shut down because of the pandemic, but I feel like you disappeared and you've just sort of suddenly reemerged out of nowhere. Is that correct, or am I seeing things?
Yeah, I go away every once in a while. I like to call it vacation.
That was a long vacation, friend. That was
almost a year. You do the crime, you got to do the time, I'm afraid.
Well, that's right. And here's to hoping that you got plenty of rest and relaxation during that time. I hope you don't mind. For anyone who's just coming in, I'm live with Bubba Lugosi. I'm also doing my part to share on social media all of the to all the groups so that everyone can sort of come in and ask us any questions. This is sort of a free-for-all. I don't usually do this a whole lot, but I kind of wanted to because Bubba's a fun fiend, and Bubba's always exciting to listen to and to watch. So I kind of wanted to keep things a little lighthearted this evening. So for anyone listening, if anyone has a question of me or of Bubba, don't be afraid to chime in because we'd love to answer your questions this evening.
Yeah, feel free to ask anything. I'm an open book as long as it ain't incriminating.
Right. So we've got a few comments here for some friends. My good friend Reverend Wooly Muffington is watching. He says radical, and we got a message from someone, Chris Hasty. That Bubba Lugosi guy is weird, but tell us something we already know. Am I right?
I bet you wouldn't say that to my face, creep. Nah, that's all right. He ain't wrong.
Very true.
I'm just joshing you.
So we actually had a question on a post earlier. Um, my friend Craig Willis wanted to know, and you'll have to sort of remind me because I know that I asked you this at the horror host brunch. Um, who is your favorite horror host, and how would you say they? How would you say that they influenced you?
Huh. Well, you know, I do come from Ohio, which is a long line of fantastic horror hosts, and you know, I might be a little sacrilegious right now. You know, I love the Cool Ghoul out of Cincinnati. I love Dr. Creek out of Dayton, Ohio. But my favorite horror hosts come from the neighboring state, Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a big Sammy Terry fan.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you? So when did you first come into contact with him?
Well,
Or how did you discover him? Is what I'm asking.
well, Ma got a TV at about 57, and we only got a couple channels. And sometime in the early 60s, I moved the antennas a little bit, and I saw this green face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was in black and white, but I knew it was green.
You knew it was green. Your
sick,
eyesight's that.
It was sickly looking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he had on these gloves with the veins, and I said, you know what? That guy looks awful spooky. So I sat down in front of that TV, and I watched Sammy Terry, and it moved me.
Wow.
It's good stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love all horror hosts equally, but you know, I just find myself coming back to Sammy Terry. He's great.
Right, and like you said, Ohio has a. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Ohio has a very rich history of horror hosts. I'd like to think that the state that we record our show in does as well. Of course, as you know, we record in the great state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And historically, you know, we have the great Dr. Gangrene, but also we've had a lot of great ones like the Count of Five, Humphrey the Hunchback, and of course Sir Cecil Creep.
Yeah, I was waiting on it.
Probably one of our most iconic horror hosts. But let me ask you this, because I don't know if we've had the chance to really talk shop lately, Bubba. You seen any good horror movies lately?
Any good horror movies?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in the last few months. You know, I've been kind of sticking with the classics. You know, with all the things that are going on. You know, it's just gives you a nice warm feeling to see some good old Jack Pierce makeup, some good old Hammer horror blood. You know, stuff like that. Vincent Price's mustache makes me happy. But
as it does everyone.
The last horror movie that really got me going, I even told a couple folks about it, was that summer of 1984. It's like a slasher, kind of a love letter to them old 80s slasher films, and they do a pretty dang good job.
You know, I don't think I've seen that one actually.
Yeah, I believe I watched it on the Shudder. You know, I heard a lot of people talk about it, and I don't normally trust people's opinion, but I went ahead and gave it a go, and they were right.
Interesting. Okay, so I'll have to check that one out because I've been meaning to sit down and watch it for quite some time. And of course, I'm on Shudder as well, so I can very easily watch it. Of course, I've watched Last Drive-In with Joe Bob. They've showed some classics on there this year as well. They showed both Maniac Cop films. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Oh yeah, I like me some Maniac Cop. I was just talking about Maniac Cop the other day.
Oh, where are you? So my favorite is the second one.
You know what? Number 2 is pretty good. Yeah, number 2 is great. Go ahead.
Of course, the first one's great. I think the second one is, I like it just slightly more. But I think everyone can agree the third one is fine. but it's not nearly as good as the other two. I didn't know if you'd had a chance to watch the entire trilogy yet or not.
I believe the third one's a blur. I know I've seen it, but yeah, the first two are definitely the standouts. And number two is surprising. It's almost like watching Aliens or Terminator 2. You know, they just, or Godfather 2. They, you know, just kind of surprises you. Then when a sequel can stand up against the classic.
Right, and they also showed a couple of Roger Corman films this season. They showed Little Shop of Horrors and Humanoids from the Deep.
All right, I like me some Roger Corman. Death Race 2000.
You know what? That would have been a good one to show.
Yeah,
that would have been and that would have fit the motif perfectly.
I bet David Carradine.
Mm-hmm.
Kung Fu.
Let's see what. Trying to think, because I feel like we've got a lot to catch up on. So I'm going to share this really quick to the Tennessee Horror News folks, because I think they'll really dig what we're doing tonight. No pun intended, though, of course.
Let me grab my shovel.
Well, okay. So, what's your favorite place to dig, Bubba?
I'm more of like a reverse undertaker. People like pay me to take the bodies out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I never understood why they even called it an undertaker, because you ain't taking, you're putting it in. And I take it, so I'm the real undertaker. God.
Right. You know, now that you mentioned it, that's a very good. That's a good observation. Who makes all this stuff up, right?
Right. Words are confusing.
Yes, they can be. Okay, so you're a horror host, but you do a lot of you still do a lot of things online on social media. So yeah. When are we going to get to see you in action? Like to see you actually, host movies or that stuff?
Hoping sooner than later, County. Yeah, I'm putting the gears in motion, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Just gotta make things. I ain't no perfectionist. I'm kind of an awful mess to look at. So, I ain't no perfectionist, but I do want to give my creeps quality.
Well, I don't know if you're a mess to look at. To me, you're a magnificent specimen.
Well, thank you.
Beauty comes from dark and terrifying places, I always say.
Absolutely. Someone told me I looked iconic the other day, and I almost cried.
You do look iconic. So, really quick, it looks like we had a very important philosophical question that I hope that we can answer this evening. Why do you drive a car on the parkway, but park a car in a driveway?
That's worse than the Undertaker conundrum. What are you trying to do to my brain, Count?
I'm not doing anything. I didn't ask this. Chris Hasty asked this question. Chris Hasty asked the question.
Ain't that the same guy that said I was weird looking?
Yes.
Oh, that guy started to get on my nerves.
They're trying to scramble your brain feed, not me.
just like that commercial in Freddy's Dead when he smacks Johnny Depp with the frying pan.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a frying pan to me and some eggs.
Let's see if we double check to see. So the good Reverend said that summer of '84 is okay.
It's for modern day. I'm kind of an old soul. It's hard for me to watch anything new. I just kind of pulled that one out. It's the last one I even remember sitting all the way through.
I'll have to check that out.
I try to watch all these dub movies, the Conjuring and the Annabelle. Isn't that what it's called?
Right. It's hard. It's odd because I fancy myself a horror fanatic, and yet I can't keep track of all of the Conjuring films that have come out in the last 5 to 6 years. We have another question from the good Reverend. Have you seen The Gas Station?
The gas station? No, I haven't. But I've been to
Okay, so
places. You know, they sell nachos at the gas station. Hot cheese.
I've seen gas stations where they sell catfish.
Who the hell want to eat catfish at a gas station?
Well, I don't have to worry about that. I'm not human, so I don't have to eat the catfish. But I do. But sometimes I wonder. What's that?
I am dead. I guess I ain't got to worry about them gastrointestinal problems either.
Right. We don't have to worry about that kind of thing. But but for the other humans, I imagine that they probably do. So
yeah, stay away from gas station catfish. But gas station nachos are all right.
Gas station nachos are all right. I've walked into a few gas stations in my time late at night. It's a bewildering experience for a lot of people. But no, I have yet to check out the film. It's something I'm definitely going to have to watch. There's a lot of movies on my recommended list that I'm going to watch. They just put out an unknown George Romero film called The Amusement Park that I'm going to check out, that I heard was quite good. So,
say a lost George Romero film, unreleased?
I believe so. I'd have to do a little bit more research on it, but it's my understanding that this film, I think it was on the limited release way back when, and it didn't get a wide release, but now it's on Shudder. It's different from a lot of Romero's work, but oh well, the Rev did not like The Amusement Park. The Texas Chainsaw one in Texas. Oh, I don't think I've been down. Okay, so the movie was released from the Romero estate, the amusement park one. Okay. Yes, but the thing is, Reverend Muffington here, a good friend of mine, co-hosts with him on the commentary, which I don't know if you've had a chance to check out. We're in desperate search to find a movie that the Rev actually likes. It feels like we've struck out a lot. So
that's how I feel about the modern horror movies. So it's real hard for me to answer, what I like, in this day and age, because I don't, you said you consider yourself a horror fanatic, but you don't like the newer stuff. Well, I consider myself a heavy metal fanatic, but I like Judas Priest. I don't like Papa Roach.
Well, it's not that I don't like the newer stuff. It's so, I saw the first Conjuring. I liked it. But I feel like there's a lot of good independent stuff that maybe doesn't get as wide a release as The Conjuring. Like, I watched the recent Nicolas Cage film, Willy's Wonderland. I thought that was a really good movie.
Yeah, I heard about that one on Facebook. I just started recently seeing that name, and I was thinking I need to check that out.
Right. It was a really good film. It was a very simple concept, more or less a Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff. But that's kind of what the beauty of it was. It was just a simple movie that wasn't trying to be anything more than what it was. I really liked that one. I checked out a movie called Psycho Gorman. It was good up to a certain point. I kind of felt like it fell apart towards the end. There was a scene in there that I wasn't too crazy about because I felt like it was a little out of place and unnecessary. But other than that, not a bad film. I'm trying to think what else I've seen lately. Honestly, it's basically just going back and checking out different movies that I've missed over the years. So I Wanted to Murder the Girl in Psycho Gorman. That's how I felt too, honestly. Haven't seen Human Centipede 2. Have you seen any of the Human Centipede films, or have you tried to stay away from those, Bubba?
No, I saw the first one, and I was pleasantly surprised at how disgusted I was.
Really? That's saying a lot.
Right. something about the feeding. Feeding just say that. Yeah.
Right, right, absolutely. Okay, well, Baba, I don't know if I'll keep you on much longer. I tried to keep these live chats. Choose the only one. Okay, okay. Well, the Rev recommended only the second one, not the first one. So maybe we'll have to revisit the film series at some point.
Don't they break the fourth wall in one of them movies where the guy's a fanatic of the first movie and the third movie or the second movie or something?
I think that is the second one. Is that not correct, Rev?
Maybe I have seen it then.
Okay. I don't think I meant to watch it just out of genuine curiosity, but my mind has been sort of precluded at other forms of trash. I had the misfortune of watching the Glenn Danzig horror anthology film Verotica.
I heard it was terrible.
Yes, and the thing is, I like watching bad movies. I
like Glenn Danzig. I like that second album, great.
But that film is insufferably bad. It's not
Stick with albums, Glenn.
Stick with albums, or get somebody else to make your movies that knows what they're doing.
Memes. Starring memes, not movies.
Right, memes, not movies. But he's making some sort of strange spaghetti western. We actually have an interesting question I want to throw your way before I finish my thought. He's making a strange spaghetti western vampire film that might be good if he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Heck, just the description of that genre makes me want to watch it. Vampires.
Well, it's neat because it's like the vampires, all of the vampires, or the cowboy vampires, they all have like vampire names from like past, they're either Dracula characters or characters from other vampire lore. So that's interesting. I like that concept.
So,
how's that?
You ever see that Blood Rain movie where Jesse James was a vampire and he was played by that redheaded fella from The Christmas Story?
I think I did see that movie.
Yeah, that was bad.
That's the one with what's her face and Ben Kingsley, right? He's the bad guy.
I think it's got that hot blonde from Terminator 3.
That's okay. That's what it was. Yeah, it wasn't the worst thing I'd ever seen. It was okay. I thought that the special effects were kind of weird, but other than that, it was okay.
I mean, they couldn't have been as bad as special effects in Alien 3. I love that movie.
Right. We have a question from Tracy Stevens. What is one movie you watched that you wish you could forget?
Well, at least once a year, I like to watch all the Halloween movies, and I wish there was a way to just skip over Halloween 5. And that's saying a lot because Halloween 6 is awful, but Halloween 5 makes Halloween 6 look like Halloween 1.
Okay. Yep. Interesting.
Yep.
For me, I think I think I've already mentioned it. Veronica was pretty rough. Veronica, and then there is a shot-on-video horror film that I watched recently called Things, or The Things. It's pretty bad, but it's interesting to watch because it's just, you don't understand why somebody made the decisions that they made when they made this movie. The plot is practically non-existent. There's just a lot of weird, cheap effects. But I would watch it again to have a good laugh. Veronica, I don't think I could watch again. That's a rough movie that I can't get through. It was just insufferably bad from start to finish.
I mean, there just ain't no excuse. You can have cheap effects, but to have bad, cheap effects, I mean, William Castle made an entire career off fishing line. You ain't got no excuses, pal.
Right. But with the Things movie, it's like, I don't think that they had the budget to make a better film in some ways. I think in a lot of ways, like they gave it their best effort. Veronica, I felt like Danzig probably had the budget to make a decent film, and he didn't. That's what I can't forgive.
Yeah, just like a zombie.
Granted, I don't know if Danzig is actually a competent filmmaker. Maybe he isn't. But the thing is, it's like I feel like with that kind of an investment that he's making in the movie, he could have done a better job. I think, or he could have gotten somebody in that role to help him make a better movie. That's all I'm saying. That's my 2 cents. But
I feel like Danzig probably thinks that his movie is great, and just all of us are wrong.
I could see that.
He might be right. I mean, he's a weird cat.
Yes, but I think it would take a weird person like that to make a movie like Veronica. Well, Bubba, I think we're running out of time. I wanted to try to have about a half-hour conversation with you, and it looks like we're coming up on time. But I want to thank you for joining me tonight. I know this was kind of a last-minute thing, but I really wanted to talk to you because my life was severely lacking without. So let me finish this thought because I want to be sincere. I felt like my life was severely lacking without your crassness and your humor. So I'm glad to have you back.
I appreciate that. Jimmy, appreciate you. You know, I thank you for having me on here, Count. That really does warm my cold heart.
Yeah, Bubba, I just noticed that Jimmy was in the background.
Yeah, he don't say much. He's got that PTSD, ever since the guillotine.
Well, hey, bring him over here. Let's compare heads because you got Jimmy, and then I've got the head of Gregory Lanham. So Gregory is a cast member on the show, and he has a severed human head that I keep here in the studio at all times. So
sometimes I lose my head too.
Don't we all?
I'd never lose you, Jimmy.
Hey, Chris AC. Oh, okay. So we got even more comments. This live stream may never end. Well, which member of the Addams family is the worst to you?
It depends on which one you're watching. If you're watching the movies, I can't stand Uncle Fester. You know why? Because both movies are about Uncle Fester, and they basically have the same plot. Uncle Fester shows up. It ain't Uncle Fester, or Uncle Fester like has some woman manipulating, and then at the end they make now if it's the TV show, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go with Pugsley.
Pugsley, okay.
I want to punch that kid. He reminds me of this kid up the street named Bertram. I don't know if you ever seen that video. The kid kicked me in the shin. He's a hellion. Sometimes I want to choke him, and my therapist says that's not an appropriate response. Mm-hmm. I should tell his mommy. So I told his mommy I want to choke him, and that didn't work either. Kids these days have no respect.
Right, no respect.
Or attention span. That's why them movies suck.
I do have to kind of agree to disagree. I know that the movies aren't as they're not as good as the TV show, but I do enjoy them.
I enjoy them reluctantly.
Reluctantly, guilty pleasure.
Great casting. I love Christopher Lloyd, but both movies are the same movie.
They kind of are, and I'm glad you brought that up. I never, but sometimes I'm okay with a repeat of a formula as long as it works. But I think you are right. Essentially, they are the same movie. Let's see. Scott Paulson, not too scabby, and I do like the Taylors though. Oh, okay. I think he may be talking about your accent, Bubba, but that's okay. I love your accent.
I ain't got an accent. You got an accent.
Do I have an accent? I don't know.
I'm talking to Scott Paulson.
Oh, Scott. Okay. I was going to say.
I never heard him talk, but I imagine he's got an accent.
Okay, because I've been accused of having an accent. The Reverend wanted to know if either of us like the Rob Zombie Halloweens. I'll be honest.
I like the first half of the first one.
The first half of the first one, okay.
If they would have continued that movie without it being like a Halloween movie, and he would have just like grew up with all his masks and no Michael Myers mask. They didn't call him Michael Myers. He just grew up as that same kid, all messed up. Like that would have been a great movie, but they just had to slap that old Halloween seal on there, didn't they?
Right. Emily Ann saying yuck. I don't. So I haven't seen them all the way through, but the pieces that I did see, I was not thoroughly impressed with.
Did you hear Rob Zombie's doing the Munsters?
So, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. So, okay, so we're gonna continue the stream a little bit longer, so we don't have to wrap up. No, yeah, you just keep just when we think we're out, you're pulling me back in. So I'm not a Rob Zombie hater. I think he does make good movies. The things that I've observed from the Halloween films and the things that I've heard from people whose opinions I respect makes me very reluctant about what he could possibly do to the monsters. And understand, like, on the one hand, I don't want a carbon copy of the original TV show. You just can't duplicate Ed Gwynn, Fred Gwynn, and Al Lewis. Or Yvonne DiCarlo for that matter.
Absolutely.
Or any of them.
But I also don't want a movie where the monsters live in 1313 double wide trailer and say the F word the whole time.
Right. Like the whole thing, because that's the crux of what I think makes a good reboot or a remake. It's in maintaining the integrity of the original source material while also balancing doing something original, something that's your own. And I don't mind making the monsters. I don't mind the idea of making the monsters maybe a little bit more depraved, or making them, a little bit more dressed up for modern audiences. But what made the monsters so appealing, the whole point of it, was that the monsters, even though they were monsters, they were wholesome. Like, they were good people. They weren't evil. They didn't understand how strange they were to the outside world. They thought everybody else was weird and they were the normal ones. That's the joke. And I don't know, I'm just worried that Rob Zombie's not going to do that justice.
Right.
And I say that as somebody that watched the Tim Burton version of Dark Shadows. And Tim Burton and Johnny Depp swore up and down that they were fans of the original Dark Shadow show. But when you actually watch the movie that they made, you wonder if maybe they had a lobotomy at some point, because that doesn't make any sense, because the movie that we watched was absolutely nothing like the TV show in any way. And it was a disappointment.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but between Willy Wonka, the Sweeney Todd, the barber, and Barnabas Collins' character, I can't tell the difference between them. You could literally put Willy Wonka right next to the vampire, and I think it's the same fellow.
I don't think that you're wrong. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion.
Yeah, he's turned into a character actor, but it's the same character.
Right. I thought his performance as Barnabas Collins was just kind of lackluster.
Tell you what, Willy Wonka was Christopher Lee.
Can you say that one more time? I think you cut out a little bit.
Sorry. The thing that saved the Willy Wonka movie was Christopher Lee.
And in a way, that's kind of what saved the Dark Shadows movie too, because Christopher Lee was in it for like 5 seconds.
You know, with all this CGI they're doing, like putting Peter Cushing in that Rogue One Star Wars, I think they ought to just put Christopher Lee in all the movies. He should have been in Space Jam instead of LeBron James or whatever that fella's name is.
I would have paid good money to watch Christopher Lee superimposed over LeBron James.
I mean, if he can't, Christopher Lee speaks like 7 languages and he can fence and play chess. And you tell me he can't go on one-on-one with Bugs Bunny?
Oh, absolutely. He would destroy Bugs Bunny. See, it's funny, the CG Peter Cushing, I couldn't tell if that was good CG or if they literally brought him back from the dead.
Yeah, I think the Weekend at Bernie's.
I was a little concerned because I thought there for a second that Hollywood was stooping so low to practice black magic in order to get people to pay for movie tickets.
Nah, they've been doing black magic for years, creep.
Right. Well, so let me ask you this, since somebody brought it up, and I just kind of want to know, if and when he releases the Munster movie, do you think you'll go see it just out of sheer morbid curiosity? Or are you going to sit that one out?
I was so traumatized by his Halloweens, the second half of the first one and all of the second one. And I was so traumatized, I thought I'd never go see another Rob Zombie remake, but this is almost like a car crash. I'm so mortified over the idea of looking at it, but I have to look at it. I'll watch the trailer, and I might change my mind by then, but I might go see it.
I might avoid if I go see it, I'm going to avoid the trailer. I found that my reactions to movies are a lot more genuine when I go into it without watching the trailer, because I don't have any sort of preconception of what the movie is going to be like.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I think a good friend of mine, JK, at the Horror Happens radio show, he once gave me the analogy of being swallowed up by the hype monster. And so that's what I try to avoid. The hype monster is real. He's aggressive. He's mean. He has sharp teeth. So I try to avoid getting swallowed up by him.
Right. And he wants to ruin your movie-going experience.
Exactly. And I don't want that. I want to come in with a fresh set of eyes. I don't want anyone to influence me. Of course, some movies are a little hard to avoid. So like the new Godzilla versus Kong movie, I'd seen the trailers. I won't lie, I got a little hyped up watching it. But going in to see the movie, it was enjoyable for me. So,
them things is subjective. Everybody's got different tastes. I don't knock nobody. I ain't even knocking Rob Zombie for some of the crap he's put out, because everybody's expression is different, and I don't ever want to step on somebody's boots.
Sure. And I feel like nowadays they're really good at making trailers. That whole subjectivity, they're really good at it.
See, I was going to say the opposite, but you got a good point. They don't give as much away, but I miss the old trailers where they put a big old slimy name across the board, and they would repeat what they'd say something in a different book. They go, "You've never seen anything like this before. You've never seen anything like this before." It was very, very dramatic.
Well, I feel like I don't know. I feel like most of the modern trailers nowadays, they do give. That's kind of the issue, because a lot of times I feel like the trailers are way better than the movies. And they give you the highlight of the movie. Like they give you the best scenes of the movie. And then when you go in and watch the movie, it's like, oh, well, I just want to watch the trailer again.
Well, I will tell you this much. I love trailers so dang much. I thought about putting a segment in my show called Bubba's Trailer Park of Terror. And I was going to show you about trailers.
I'd love that. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, Bubba.
I said that sure would be fun.
It would. Bubba, you're always so much fun, and I appreciate having you on. Where can we get updates on where you're at with the show And where can we follow you for all of your shenanigans?
You can find me on the Facebook and the Instagram at Bubba Lugosi.
And we've got your Instagram put right on the coffin bulletin board. So everybody, go follow Bubba Lugosi. He's a great fiend of mine and a terrific horror host. And I'm going to be super excited when your show drops, and I will be sharing it like crazy, my fiend. So thanks again for coming on tonight, Bubba. Anything else you'd like to plug for the folks before we go?
No, don't feel like plugging nothing. I just want to say keep on rotting in the free world.
All right, there you have it, Spooks and Spookettes. That'll do it for us this evening. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. But be sure to join me next week for the commentary with myself, the Reverend Willie Muffington, and El Puño Classico. But until then, as far as things go, when things go bump in the night. Bubba, do you remember the sign-off line?
I don't, unfortunately.
That's okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I know we're doing this live, but that's okay. So as far as things go, when things go bump in the night, and then the ending is, there are such things.
I remember that.
So, all right, so we're going to rewind it, and we're going to do it again. As far as things go, when things go bump in the night, there are such things.